Hello, and welcome to the Mild Opinion Podcast, episode 18. I'm Luke,
Logan?
and today we're going to be talking about Superman because the new Superman movie has just come out and we've both seen it now. And why don't you start us off by telling us what you think your thoughts are on the movie?
Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I told you earlier, like, as we were watching it, I was, keeping up with the story and everything. I was involved the whole time, watching it, enjoying it, Didn't have really anything bad to say about it. Like, just overall, it's a good viewing experience.
Mm.
And, as I've thought about it a little bit, I had a few more complaints and stuff because I've, thought about it quite a bit since yesterday when we watched it. And also, spoilers ahead if you haven't seen it yet.
Yes.
We should don't watch. But I just think some of the things about it that I didn't necessarily love was one of the things was I know they made a big point as to not make it like Man of Steel where he was just like invincible pretty much. You know what I mean? Like nothing could hurt him, which fair. Because that wasn't really, that wasn't great. But I feel like they, in some aspects, might have made him a little bit too frail. Just because there was a lot of time spent during the movie where he was just getting beat up.
Yeah. And, they kind of make a point pretty early on, again, spoilers, but the very first thing that happens in the movie is that he loses a battle. And, the first time you see him, he's, bleeding, and it's not from, kryptonite or anything. Mm-hmm. It's just he got beat up by somebody who's basically his equal. Mm-hmm. And throughout the movie, it's shown when he's, getting exhausted and, when somebody hits him real hard, he doesn't just, get back up immediately. It's mm-hmm. He felt that. So I think the only thing I really think that hurts is that it doesn't make kryptonite to me seem as valuable, even though there's a sequence where he is feeling the full effects of kryptonite up close, so you're seeing how much it actually is hurting him in that, which I actually thought was cool because I'm sure as we'll see Supergirl and Superman moving forward and anything with Kryptonians, kryptonite is always just going to be a big part of that. So, you definitely see how detrimental that is to him, but I do think it does just make it that if you're strong enough, you can beat him. And they also say that... they also do say that, he is still, pretty much the strongest, at least in terms of physical power, who we've met so far, the strongest metahuman, as the movie calls them. But, I think I feel like just as a character decision, it does seem like it makes him more vulnerable. It's just not what you'd expect from Superman, because Superman is the most powerful, almost godlike. So I watched this and I'm if he went toe to toe with Henry Cavill Superman, it'd be over pretty quick. But that, in saying that, I also feel like I enjoyed this Superman more than Henry Cavill.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Just because, like I said, they were trying specifically not to make it like that. Just because Henry Cavill was a good Superman, but the way that Superman was written, the Man of Steel Superman was written, is he was pretty much almost completely invulnerable. You didn't really see him get beat up at all. And he didn't really feel human at all. You know what I mean? Which I know Superman's not, but the human aspect of it wasn't there, and they made that a big point in this movie. Just
he's very human.
Yeah.
Almost I guess to that's part of the point of the whole movie is Lex Luthor is literally no, he's not even a person, he's an it. And then the whole movie you're seeing him kind of just absolutely trying to be everything you'd expect from Superman. So he does what he thinks is right. He's not necessarily smarter than Lex Luthor and stuff. Obviously he's not, because that's the whole deal. But at the end of the day, it's that he's doing what he believes to be right, and he faces the consequences of that. And I guess you could say the same thing about like Man of Steel Superman, but in that I feel like Man of Steel Superman is kind of just like he does what he thinks is right, and then everybody's like, this guy destroyed like this whole city. Like you barely see him save people, and in this movie they make a huge point of showing you Superman saving every single life that he can, which I enjoyed.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good aspect of him to highlight.
Yeah, and that is one thing that I did like, is that they really put a big focus on making the movie super comic booky. So, like, with Superman as a character, they done it, like, just with, like, the going above and beyond to save, like, the different lives and stuff like that, and just, like, who he was as a person. And then, as far as, like, the storyline goes and, like, the atmosphere, it felt very much like it was, like, Metropolis. It's DC stuff. It's not, like... It didn't feel like that would be something that could take place here right now in the real world, because it was just so comic booky, which was really cool, and it was really awesome because it fit with like the Superman theme. Whereas like Man of Steel and stuff like that seemed like stuff that could happen here in like our real world and stuff like that. Man of Steel stuff was good in that aspect, but also like this Superman seems more accurate to like comics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Especially with the storyline too, like involving like, you know, the like parallel dimension stuff, and then there was giant monsters in the city multiple times.
They do not try to make it like what if this was real? They make it like, no, this is a comic book world. And I think too that like was a huge strength of it, is that they didn't try to shy away from that, because it also helped with like, it helps you kind of buy into the fact that like, yes, Superman is the center of this, and like everything that's happening is because he exists and is doing this and trying to like help out humanity, I guess, is just his ultimate goal. But you know, this world they establish it like right away is already lived in, and like superheroes exist. Like Superman is not the first superhero. You have your first iteration of Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, and Mr. Terrific are like obviously an early version of the Justice League in this, the Justice Gang. And then on the other side of things too, like in the opening crawl of the movie, they start off by basically establishing that in the future of DC movies, they can go back in time with things that have happened in this world by saying that 3 centuries ago, the world was introduced to metahumans. So it's like Superman has only showed up in the past 30 years. So that's clearly saying like, okay, we might be seeing something then in the 1800s, or like during World War I, World War II, stuff like that. And just that, you know, and Man of Steel is kind of like, oh, Superman is the introduction to something this powerful. But even in this movie, people aren't like afraid of him necessarily, except for like what people try to, like Lex Luthor and stuff tries to get people to believe about him. So I thought that was just, I think that played a major like strength into what they were trying to accomplish with the movie.
Yeah, and another thing that I think was really good, and like a aspect of the movie that I thought was kind of not like a huge point, like story wise or anything like that, but just like you could notice the stylistic difference from like Man of Steel compared to this, and like Zack Snyder's kind of, you know what I mean, like style compared to like the James Gunn style and all that. And I think the James Gunn style works a lot more just because it's like bright, like the colors are bright, it's happy, it's uplifting, you know what I mean? Like there's different parts of the movie and stuff where like you can like see that, like, all right, like there's like all these bright, vibrant colors, like this is Superman, it's comic booky, you know what I mean? Like it looks like it's taken from the page and made onto a live action movie.
Yeah. And I felt like too with that, like the way people talk in it seems like the way people talk, especially Lex Luthor, he's so like comic booky in it. Like his motivations aren't some like, as far as we know so far, because I'm sure they'll all come back, but like Lex Luthor is just like Superman's arch nemesis in this. Like he hates Superman just because he's like, he doesn't, basically how I interpret it is he just didn't get why everybody loves him, and he just wanted to prove that like Superman is not the like golden boy everybody wants him to be, but the way he talks and like his plans and all of his resources and stuff is so like comic booky and like so, I don't even know how to describe it, so super like classic super villainy, and I thought that was really cool about Lex Luthor in this.
Yeah, I thought that was really awesome as well, just because like I think it was kind of neat that like you see from the very beginning, like, oh yeah, that's Lex Luthor, you know what I mean? He's a genius, billionaire, yada yada yada. But then you automatically get introduced to the fact that he's studied Superman and all that, and like his fight tactics and all that. So like he's obviously from the beginning, like, all right, he's smart, he's a genius. And then you see like the parallel dimension jumping through like the teleporters and stuff that he had, and then you see like the stuff like Ultraman, and then you quickly figure out that like, all right, the engineer, like he made the engineer and stuff like that. And then you're like, all right, so this guy is like, he's deep into it. You know what I mean? Super comic booky. And then also just like the random stuff, like his main like little office area at the end of the movie just comes apart from the building and turns into like a little like ship.
So villain.
Like comic book villain. Yeah.
Oh man. And too, like he's got like goons and like all these dudes who have like the green purple color stuff.
Yeah.
He just has like a super villain plan of like, I just want to kill Superman.
Yeah.
I appreciate that they weren't trying to like mask that with like let's make him relatable and stuff. No, he's just a straight up scumbag.
Yeah. He's just an evil genius.
Yeah. And too, with the like pocket universe thing being like such a big part of what's going on in this movie too. At first, like, if you're familiar with like Superman stuff, you know about like the Phantom Zone, which is like that like parallel world that the Kryptonians can like access with their technology, where they just like banish people and like send all sorts of things in there. I don't know like the deep history of Superman stuff like I do with other superheroes, but I thought like when they were walking into the parallel universe the first few times, I was like, is this gonna be like their version of the Phantom Zone of like, this is how they'll introduce it, and they're going like full throttle introducing like every element of Superman that they can. That's just what I thought like off the bat, but then I just was like, oh no, it's just some supervillain plan.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be like everything is based in building from the ground up. Like, I'm sure we'll eventually get to stuff like that, but yeah.
Well, now that we're talking about like Lex Luthor and all that, what did you think about the other villains, like the Engineer and Ultraman?
Right. I think other than Lex Luthor, I enjoyed the Engineer more than Ultraman, just because I felt like she was more, like she had unique abilities and she was like really resourceful. And also like in terms of how she fights Superman and like deals with Kryptonian technology and stuff, she seems, it's not just like brain versus brawn, it's not just like physical power over physical power, it's like there's some real strategy to how she uses her powers and how she's resourceful. So I thought she was just interesting because I like had no idea who the Engineer was before I saw this movie. And then I liked how she was kind of like his number one like super mind compared to Lex Luthor of just being like, I'll do whatever you need me to do, and then Ultraman's just quiet and off to the side.
Yeah.
Ultraman, I felt like was kind of just like a plot thing of being like, okay, so he's just kind of a somewhat stronger Superman, and it's basically just Lex Luthor shadow boxing with Ultraman, but I didn't like hate the way they did it. I have a theory about it, which I'll get into later, but I think that it was cool that it's not just like, yep, Lex Luthor. No, this is like, you're introduced to all these superheroes, but there's also clearly, there's a lot of villains running around here too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do enjoy the way that they all fought, though. Like, the way that they were fighting, especially toward the end, was super cool. Especially, like, because, like, you see, like, some normal stuff, like Superman versus Ultraman, and it's just them, like, flying into each other and, like, duking it out and stuff like that, which was, you know, anything like that's always super cool. But I think one thing that I was really impressed with that I did like about this Superman is that they let him use like a lot of like his very comic booky tools, like just like his like the super breath. He used that a few times,
and he gets like creative with
yeah
his strength and like his laser vision and stuff.
yeah
too. Yeah.
And then also like the way that like he flies and stuff. Like it, I feel like a lot of times in like Superman movies and stuff like that, it's pretty much just like, oh, like he's strong, he punches hard. Every now and then a laser vision, or like he'll like speed blitz and stuff like that. Like they didn't really. But with this, like there was like the stuff in the air where like he spun. He done that a couple of times.
Yeah, that was
cool. What I mean? And then like obviously he was good at like hand to hand combat. The lasers, just like going ham with the lasers at the end. You know what I mean? Just stuff like that. Like that's a cool way for him to use his powers. On top of like getting creative, like the super breath and stuff like that.
Yeah. And yeah, like so as much as we were saying, like he's like nerfed and stuff. He's not like weak. Like he's still really strong, and you can still like see he's as powerful as Superman should be. Like maybe a touchdown from what you expect from him. But I agree, like the way that he fights is very cool, and you can see too when he's fighting that like giant monster, he's so like careful about it. Like he's not just going in swinging, like he's hitting it. He's making sure people are okay. When he hits the monster, like he'll get people out of the way of where it's falling. And then when like the Justice Gang shows up, he wants to take more of like a thought out approach, and they're just like, no, we want it dead, like just attack it. So I just like the little things like that, like the little details of him at all costs, like saving as many people as he can. And I think this is like in like a future perspective of what they're doing with Superman. I think the way they've established his ideology on things will be just like a big part of his character through the whole series, because I'm pretty sure they've said they're not doing like the seeming like injustice route that it seemed like Cavill Superman was going, where like Superman turns evil. I hope not, because we've seen enough evil Superman. But I think it'll be interesting once we get around to the time where he's interacting more like with his own version of the Justice League. So like a Batman and like a Green Lantern, a Flash, and Wonder Woman, and how they work as a team. Because obviously like Batman and Superman come to blows a lot, not even just as like they're trying to kill each other, but also just like what they think they should do. So it makes me more excited to see what this version of Batman will be and how Superman will interact with a character like that.
Yeah. Well, and we talked about that a little bit just because of like the James Gunn DC stuff. It's kind of hard to see like the direction with all of that just because of how new it is.
Yeah.
Because like with Superman, James Gunn's style and the way that he does stuff, just like with like Guardians and stuff like that too, like that comes across very easily and it works well with Superman just because it's like positive and he's like the hero's hero. You know what I mean? And like James Gunn's really good about doing stuff like that. But I'm kind of curious, like we talked about, to see what it would be like with like Batman and stuff like that, because like that's more like dark. You can't really get like, I mean, you can get comic booky, but like more so like a dark, serious, more like brooding kind of comic booky rather than what this was, which is like the complete opposite of that. And you can't really make a Batman like that because that's not Batman at all.
That's like Adam West Batman, which like respect to Adam West Batman, but like I don't think people want to see that cheery, like kind of goofiness in Batman. I know that with. And in like a few interviews I've watched with like James Gunn and then like David Corenswet, like people have talked about, what do you expect to see like in the DCU moving forward, and like what are you like excited about? And it seems like they've made a very clear point of being like, oh, it's gonna be all sorts of tones from movie to movie. So I think it was James Gunn said that like he wants what they're gonna be doing with Green Lantern to be really like space detective-y, but like a little bit more mature, like a more mature angle with Green Lantern. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. But then that does make me think when it gets around to Batman, I am expecting it to be very fantastical. Batman to have some like crazy tech, probably them to go full into like, well, just like how crazy Batman comics can get for him just being a guy.
Yeah.
Like, even in terms of supernatural stuff. So I do expect them to kind of keep that same, like, fantastical element, but to kind of ground it in the tone of it being Batman, just in more so of, like, a comic booky way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that this was a good start, especially with Superman, of just making it lighthearted, but showing that, like, not necessarily everything is going to be easy breezy, like, happy-go-lucky moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, what do you think your favorite part of the movie was?
That's a good question. I think I really enjoyed how Superman... This isn't like a necessarily like specific scene or anything, but I enjoy a lot of how he interacts with other characters in the world and how they interact with him, like specifically superheroes and stuff. So obviously everybody's like wanting Superman's help and stuff like that, but then like he's not necessarily on the same agenda as like the Justice Gang and stuff, even though they like know each other and kind of look out for each other. But specifically, I really liked how Mr. Terrific kind of like stepped up and was like, I want to help Superman. So I liked it whenever those two were interacting. And especially, like, on the subject of Mr. Terrific, like, James Gunn really just like took a not as well-known character and was like, this guy's going to be kind of important to what's going on, and gave him some cool fight scenes and some cool lines and just made him... like elevated that character, you know. So I really appreciated that. What about you?
Well, specific scene wise, I would say probably the like infight between Ultraman, Superman, and the Engineer. I think the coolest part, especially and this goes back to how I said like the way that he fights is like unique and kind of cool too.
Yeah.
Is like when they were fighting. And he just grabs the Engineer and starts spinning in a circle and trying to slam Ultraman with the Engineer.
Getting those, like, injustice combos.
Yeah.
On people.
Yeah. I thought that was super cool. But yeah, probably just like that whole infight, just because you get to see, like, pretty much just like Superman unleashing his power against people who can take it.
Yeah, just kind of like not holding back. And, like, beforehand it is, like, very much like, you know, like we said, like, you see him saving people more as his primary goal. But that's like, Metropolis is evacuated, okay. Everybody's safe. And now it's just like hand to hand, like full power against one another. So yeah, I like that. I was going to bring up, and this will probably be like our last segment on Superman, but what are some like things you speculate about the future of this version of Superman, or like some things in the movie that make you think about the future of DC movies as a whole?
I think, well, knowing that, like, one of the next big things is going to be Supergirl, and then, like, that end bit and all that, I think that'll probably be interesting, and I'm sure that Superman will be a pretty cool part of whatever's going on with that. But then also, I had a little bit of an idea about just like Ultraman and stuff, because I feel like Ultraman's not gone.
Yeah, I think I know where you're going with this.
I feel like, if anything, this might be like the Bizarro origin.
That's what I was thinking about that too. I was like, of course this is comic book stuff, and you don't see his body, and he just gets sucked into a black hole, which you know, could mean a million different things in a million different comic books. So I thought of that too, because he was kind of just like stupid and brainless and mindless in it. So like, who knows where he went? We saw how crazy all this like pocket universe stuff can get. So like, maybe that is the introduction of him becoming Bizarro or something like that.
Well, and see, that's kind of what made me think that too, because like I know, like in the comics and stuff, there is Ultraman, and it's just Superman clone and all that. But I just feel like this would be a good way to introduce Bizarro, if they are going to have Bizarro. Just because we've had Ultraman, he's pretty much just kind of like a dumb, almost mindless version of Superman.
Yeah.
which that's kind of what Bizarro is, except he's just a little bit different. But also, I'm like, well, we don't know that he's dead, like you said. And also, if they do introduce Bizarro, then that just means there's like 2 different versions of dumb Superman just out there.
Just out there. Out and about. Yeah, I think that that's definitely a possibility. And then one more thing, which I talked to you about last night, but like ever since I read this theory, is that that there was a theory I read where it was that Superman's parents are not actually his parents in that message, and that Bradley Cooper might be General Zod. And I think the reason that I can't shake that as I'm not saying there's not like a rational explanation for why his parents say that in this version of Superman, but that more so aligns with what I believe General Zod would say is, no, like, take over Earth, like, spread Krypton's lineage. And I said this too, like, General Zod, I feel like they're not going to just keep Bradley Cooper as Superman's dad and like maybe show him in a few flashbacks, and then I know there's versions of Superman where he like will come like speak to him through like the fortress and whatnot. I'm not sure entirely how that works a lot, but I'm like, casting Bradley Cooper is an interesting choice if they're not going to use him for something bigger. And I'm like, Bradley Cooper as Zod, I don't hate the idea, but I can see it working in some ways, but I think there's definitely a lot more to like that message being that way, other than just, oh yeah, his parents were actually scumbags and wanted to do this. Because I don't think I've ever heard of that being an origin thing with Superman.
I don't know. But I mean, also, I wouldn't be mad at that. Like, if that is actually the case, I wouldn't hate that, honestly. Like, I would be happy with that being like, all right, this is what's going on, this is the direction. Like, I think I'd be satisfied with that.
Yeah, I think that would also establish pretty quickly that like Zod was like smart enough to be like a problematic villain, because he's like, wait a minute, Superman's never seen his parents, we can just pretend to be them and then tell him to go do this. Then when we get there, he's already taken over the world and we're just his friends. Like, you know? So that's like one theory I saw where I was just like, that's a great theory. Like, that's really interesting. Other than that, though, like, in terms of future DC and stuff, I think this movie just left a lot of things. Like, the movie as a whole closed its story nicely, and, like, if that was a standalone Superman movie, I think it would be pretty good. But I think they left a lot of room for, like, side characters to kind of build up their popularity, and kind of just, like, a lot of different avenues for them to explore in the future. Yeah.
Well, I think, like, this is a good start. I feel like the next movie, being Supergirl, will be a big... Because this is, like, the first taste. Like, there's not really any way of being like, oh, like, this is the direction. Because, I mean, this is, like, Superman, you know what I mean? Like, it is, like, the big DC ticket. But... You know what I mean? There's other stuff in a whole, like, cinematic universe that has to go on. You know what I mean? It's not just the one. So I feel like we'll learn a lot about where it's going in Supergirl. Especially because I think it's going to be interesting theme-wise. Because this one was, like, very lighthearted. You know what I mean? Like, there was, like, obviously, like, intense scenes and stuff like that. They were, cussing a little bit, whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, I feel like the next one... Supergirl will probably be a little bit more on the PG-13 side, just because, like, our introduction to her, she's wasted.
Drunk. Yeah. And Superman said that she's, like, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he kind of made it lingering out there that, like, he's concerned about her, and it's like...
She's, like, reckless, kind of a partier.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like, the word on the street is that she's going to be going against Lobo, who's a freaking loose cannon. So it's, hard telling what that will be like, but I'm excited for it.
I also think it's cool that they made the mention of, like, she's drunk because she's, like, not on Earth, so she's, like, going to places she can't be partying. So that's kind of, like, a big world building opportunity to like. It's kind of like the Guardians of the Galaxy route, right? So like before you see Guardians of the Galaxy, the biggest like cosmic world builder in Marvel is like Thor, because you see like kind of the cosmos and stuff, and then Guardians of the Galaxy is just like way other side of the galaxy. Here's like how civilization is out there. I think this will kind of be a good opportunity for that, and probably more of a space sequences probably of what the whole universe looks like as opposed to just Earth. But I'm expecting Earth to be prominent and it just a little step into the bigger scale of stuff.
Yeah, well, I think that kind of stuff too, well, like the more like cosmic stuff, like intergalactic stuff, is going to be kind of easier for James Gunn, because like that's like his like specialty. You know what I mean? He's all about that. So once we get into more of that stuff, I feel like that would be a piece of cake for him to knock out of the park.
Yeah, so like if he can get like real wacky with it too, like he'll have a blast with that. Yeah. So yeah. Well, is there anything else you want to touch on with Superman? I
think that's about it.
Yeah. Well, overall, I think we both can agree the movie did what it set out to do, and I'm personally relieved that it was not a huge bomb. I'm not a Henry Cavill hater because I like some things about the way he did the character, but I think this is definitely the more universal Superman that people were looking for, and I'm excited to see what he'll be up to next. But yeah, this has been the Mild Opinion Podcast, episode 18. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.